So since 2006, Sustainable Warwick has engaged in educating the public about renewable energy options and their affordability. We've hosted library events, farmers market booths, and we've had webinars. We've also participated in Solarize campaigns, and last year we teamed up with the Village of Warwick for the Triple Win Community Solar Campaign. Tonight, we are so pleased to be hosting Peggy Kurtz for a presentation on community choice aggregation, an awesome opportunity for our town and villages to help residents save money on their electricity bills while supporting New York's build out of renewable energy. Peggy is a community coordinator for Joule Community Power. She's also a longtime environmental advocate and leader in Rockland County. She's the leader of Rockland Sierra Club, co-founder of the Rockland Water Coalition, and she's co-chair of Upper Nyack's Climate Smart Communities Task Force. And with that, I want to turn the floor over to Peggy. Peggy, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, it's so good to be here with all of you. And I'm very excited about doing this presentation to all of you because I think this is really, I genuinely feel this is truly a perfect fit for your community with everything that I'm hearing going on. So I'm here this evening to speak about community choice aggregation renewable energy programs, or CCA for short. CCA programs with renewable energy are community-based clean energy programs. They aim to help the entire community transition to renewable energy. Can you do it in some way that I can see everybody else too? So I just want to, okay, maybe it's on my end. Okay, I just changed it. Good. I just like to be able to see people. They aim to help the entire community, or almost the entire community, transition to renewable energy. They also have the potential to deliver significant cost savings. So I'm hearing that you have a very strong sustainability program. As I said, I think this is really a good fit for your community. I'm going to present. Hopefully, oh, I guess I have to start by, silly me, I have to start by sharing my screen. Just 1 second. I'm sorry. I don't think I have the ability to share my screen. Oh, I do. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay. So I'm going to start with this slide. This is a graph from Climate Central in 2018. I know that you're all obviously very climate change aware. This is a graph of the emissions cuts that are needed to meet the UN IPCC goal of keeping emissions under 1.5 degrees. In order to stay below 1.5 degrees increase, we must reduce emissions by nearly half worldwide by 2030, by nearly half worldwide by 2030, and reach net zero by 2050. So the question is always, what can we do that will make a measurable difference? The most powerful steps that we can take are as a community, and CCA is one of the most powerful tools we have to reduce our emissions quickly. It's also extremely important, and to build on that provides a platform that you can build on further as a community. As you look at that list of climate smart communities actions that Tom was presenting, I'm sure one of the things that's in everybody's mind is not just how do we earn points, but how do we make a real difference? How do we do something that's going to give us the biggest bang for the effort that we're going to put into it? New York State climate programs identify CCA with renewable energy as among the highest impact climate actions a community can take. And I also want to say that this program also gives people agency by making a measurable difference in your carbon footprint as a community. It's empowering. It's very empowering. So I just want to introduce Joule Community Power. I'm a community coordinator for Joule Community Power. Joule Assets is one of the leading program administrators in New York State specifically for clean energy programs. Joule principals pioneered Westchester Power, which was the first CCA program in New York State. Joule currently administers 9 community aggregates. It is really a pioneer in clean energy innovation. And the aim of our program is to make renewable energy affordable for everyone. We're here to help your community achieve and even maximize its sustainability goals. And I'll talk more about that later on. Joule currently is working with 50 municipalities, representing over 800,000 households, including the city of Rochester. So let's talk a little bit about what is let's define what is community choice aggregation. Through CCA, municipalities create a large aggregate or buying group through which residents and small businesses may purchase their energy for electricity at competitive fixed rates. So essentially, it's like any other buying group like BJ's or Costco. Municipalities can leverage the buying power of that large group, tens of thousands of households, to achieve cost savings for residents, even with renewable energy. One of the big obstacles to renewable energy is always the slightly higher price of renewable energy, and this program helps to remove that obstacle. CCA programs are overseen by the Public Service Commission, and they are actively promoted, as we'll talk later, by 2 state climate programs, Clean Energy Communities and Climate Smart Communities. Okay. Some of the benefits are renewable energy, usually 100% renewable energy, competitive fixed rates, strong consumer protection, and more choice for consumers. And I'll talk about each of these more. In 2019, New York State passed groundbreaking climate legislation, which mandates an unprecedented transformation of the state's electric grid. The electric grid must be powered 70% by renewable energy by 2030. So that's only 7.5 years away. And it must be 100% carbon-free by 2040. The state cannot meet these urgently needed goals which will ultimately help protect our own communities without action by local governments. So the program we're talking about today helps communities take a major step in the direction of those goals. As one example, through the Rockland Community Power Program so far, when we're about to renew with twice as many communities, but so far, over 21,000 Rockland households have transitioned to clean energy while saving at the same time over $7 million. CCA is a growing movement. It started actually in 1997 in other states as a cost-cutting program, and now communities increasingly are using CCA as a clean energy program. There are over 150 municipalities in New York State that are either currently in a program or moving ahead to participate in a program. The program started in New York State in 2016 with a pilot program in Westchester, and today 2/3, or actually slightly more than 2/3 of Westchester communities are in a CCA program. Locally, I just want to mention the Rockland Community Power Program with 12 communities planning to participate in the second round, and including 2 Orange County communities also. And there are 14 communities in the Hudson Valley Community Power Program. So how does this work? With a CCA program, O&R, the utility, local utility, whatever it is, remains as the electric utility. In New York State, in 1998, the state PSC actually divided off supply from delivery. So the utilities no longer actually own the power plants. They're going out to purchase the supply on your behalf, and then they are delivering the energy to you. They kind of like UPS or FedEx, they're delivering the packages. They are essentially the middleman. And they're also doing, so what this does is it changes the supply source from power plants that are almost entirely powered by fossil fuels. At this point, mostly natural gas, small amount of coal, to the sourcing it from clean energy supply. Actually, it's hydropower, despite the picture on the left there. With CCA, O&R continues to deliver electricity, repair and maintain lines, bill customers, and most important, they're still the ones to call in the event of a power outage. So their role essentially does not change, and their revenue does not change. They're not actually profiting from the supply portion of the bill. CCA shifts your community, and hopefully shifts New York State, from a utility-controlled fossil fuel model to a municipally controlled, community-controlled, clean, renewable energy model. So what's the difference between this CCA and the ESCOs, or energy supply companies, or third-party suppliers? It's really a major difference. This is an entirely different model. It's a collaborative municipal model. Generally, what the ESCOs do is they bring you in with a contract at a low introductory rate, and then they usually, when that introductory period expires, whether it's 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months, they raise your rates over time, and sometimes by quite a bit, sometimes by really to exorbitant rates. I mean, I've spoken to people who are paying rates that are like 4 times as much as what they would be paying within the Rockland Community Power Program. With the CCA, there are no contracts for consumers. There's no, obviously then, no exit fee. The rates are guaranteed or fixed. There is no bait and switch. What you see is what you get. It stays the same through the life of the program. So let's talk about rates. I'm showing you this graph, which is a graph of Rockland Community Power rates versus O&R rates from the start of our program, November 2020, through August of this year. So before we look a little more closely at the graph, I just want to mention utility rates are variable, so we can only compare past performance. I want to emphasize that. This month, O&R rates are 10.37 cents per kilowatt hour. Last month, they were 11.36 cents per kilowatt hour. The program rate for renewable energy is 7.167 cents per kilowatt hour. Keep in mind that O&R rates are generally what's called I think I neglected to say the rates are fixed. Okay, so keep in mind that O&R rates are for what's called standard energy. The last disclosure form that I was able to find for O&R was from 2019, and they are currently, so it looks like at that in 2019, standard energy was 87% from powered by fossil fuels, as I mentioned, mostly natural gas and some coal, and a smaller amount of renewable energy. Generally, generally renewable energy, as I mentioned, is still slightly more expensive than standard energy. The zigzag line on the graph is for O&R's variable rates. The 2 flat lines at the bottom, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the 2 flat lines at the bottom are for the fixed rates for the Rockland Community Power Program. The green line is for 100% renewable energy in the program, and the blue line represents standard energy within the program. We also generally make available to communities that want to make it available a second rate. Usually, almost every single community except for one that's managed by Joule has chosen a default of the renewable energy, but most communities also want to make available for those who want to take advantage of it a slightly less expensive rate with the standard energy. So what you can see here is, number one, I do want to point out that there are some months in which the utility is lower than the program rate. That will happen, but usually where the program rate really pulls ahead is it really saves people money is during the winter. and during the summer. And those two periods make a big difference, in particular during the summer, because you have the combination of higher rates through the utility and much higher usage for electricity. So it really more than makes up those periods where it's above, where the program rate is lower, really more than make up for the rest of those months where it's slightly below. This was a particularly tough year for energy costs. We had a cold winter, followed by one of the hottest summers on record, inflation, and of course the war in Ukraine. And all of this probably will be with us going forward too. But through all of this last year, the program rates just kept on going. Same, those two flat lines, the low fixed rates. So I think this is a really interesting graph, just to give you an idea of how the costs operate, how the rates operate. Over 22 months since the program began, collectively, people in the program saved $7 million. The average savings on renewable energy, which was the vast majority of the participants, came to $180. So up until now, I've been talking entirely about the electricity supply, renewable energy that's powered by renewable energy. But there are two main components to the program, community choice solar and the electricity supply. They have a lot of things in common. Both programs deliver clean energy and help lower energy costs. Both provide strong consumer protection. There are no contracts in either one. Both are also opt-out programs. As a program administrator, it is our job to be sure that residents understand the program. We begin with as much outreach as we can do. Once the program starts, an information packet is mailed to every eligible home. There's more information sessions, very similar to what I'm doing right now. And there's also a postage paid reply card to opt out if that is their preference. I want to emphasize, again, strong consumer protection, no contracts for consumers for anything in the program. You're going to hear me repeating that even more times. Rates are fixed and anyone can opt out at any time and with no fee, or opt back in. So I know you're all somewhat familiar with community solar, but I'll just go quickly through this. The energy for the base electricity supply that I was talking about until now is from the large utility scale projects. Currently, it's from already existing run-of-river hydropower projects from upstate New York. It's nothing to do with Chippy from Canada. This is all already existing hydropower projects. Community solar can be added onto the base electricity supply. It's not a choice. You can do both. Through the community solar program, you're helping to support the development of new projects, smaller, new renewable energy projects by subscribing to a share of a solar project. So what is unique to Joule's program, at least currently, is no contracts for its opt-out community solar, which, by the way, earns your community more points in both climate smart communities and clean energy communities. There are no contracts for consumers. That's an important one. People do not like signing contracts. No second bill. It's all on that one bill that all of us are used to. And there are no credit requirements. So it really opens it up to everyone. Both programs, both CCA with renewable energy and opt-out community solar accrue major points toward funding in the two climate smart communities programs. Right down here, let's see, in CCA accrues 1,500 points. That's one of the biggest point earners in the clean energy communities, and an opt-out community solar in CEC accrues 500 points. Climate smart communities, CCA accrues 18 points, I believe, for the size of, depends on the size of your community, but I think it's 18 points for both communities, for both the town and the village of Warwick, and opt-out community solar, 12 points. So those are major amounts of points in both communities. Okay. I mentioned earlier that Joule is here really to help you achieve your sustainability goals and to really maximize your sustainability goals. In addition to the two components that I've been talking about until now, the CCA and the opt-out community solar, Joule's services to CCA communities include advisory services for the municipality, and that includes advising municipalities on the design and implementation of their own renewable energy projects, assessing, helping them, advising them on how to assess private proposals for solar projects within the municipality that I'm sure you are getting, battery storage projects, solar services for community facilities such as hospitals or schools, remote crediting for those facilities, and demand response. So we're really open to talking to the community and kind of hearing from you what your goals are, what you would like to do, and helping you make that happen. This is very important. I want to emphasize that this is a turnkey program. We do the work for the municipality. I would say that we need real help from the municipality, in particular, that outreach, but really the majority of it is really on Joule, on the program administrator, and that includes assembling an aggregate. So that means assembling more municipalities. This is really a collaborative municipal program. The public education, negotiation of contracts with energy suppliers and community solar, regulatory compliance, and ongoing individual customer service throughout the life of the program. It's very important. And I'm going to repeat that: ongoing individual customer service throughout the life of the program. We have a helpline that's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and we give everybody that operates throughout the life of the program. There are no fees for the municipality, Joule, and there are no direct fees for consumers. Joule collects its fees from the supplier. It amounts to about $1 on average per household per month. I'm sure that is passed along to the consumer, but it's all in the rate. It's all bundled into that rate. There are no hidden fees. There are no extra fees. Whatever you see is what you're going to get. As I mentioned, Joule is really a national leader in innovation in clean energy programs. Joule introduced the first community solar program in the United States. Okay, so what are the first steps? The first step is to invite Joule to present at your town or your village board. I will be presenting on October 3rd to the village board. So I hope you will all come out in support of that. If you live in the town or the village of Florida or Greenwood Lake, let's talk in the Q&A period about how to make it happen. And the first two steps for the municipality are both exploratory and non-binding. And I want to emphasize that everything remains exploratory and non-binding right up until the end of the process, when the municipality sees the actual bid, so they know what the new rates would be, which I can't tell you at this point, because that could be 8 months from now. Energy rates are constantly changing. So the municipality will see the actual rates, be happy with them, and then at that point they'll sign a contract, with a three-way contract with the supplier, the program administrator, and the municipality. But in the meantime, everything is exploratory and non-binding up until then. The first step is to approve a CCA local law. This is basically taking on to the municipality the authority that you really already have as of PSC decision as a home rule, and the PSC decision in 2016. and then selecting Joule as program administrator so that we can begin to do the outreach and the regulatory compliance and everything else, that gather the data, do everything that is needed to help move the program ahead. So this is my contact information. I'm very glad to put it into the chat or to put this screen back up later on. And now I'm ready for your questions.
I want to start by saying we put everyone on mute. So if you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself and raise your hand. Peggy, I want to start with asking a couple questions. Like if somebody already has their own solar panels, or if they've got community solar, they've signed up for community solar already, or if they've got their own ESCO, how does it work out when if our municipality were to sign up for community choice aggregation? How would it work in those situations?
Okay, so let's go one by one. I think you said if you already have your own solar panels, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you already have your own solar panels, then you cannot participate in community solar, because that you would be getting the benefit of a state subsidy. You would be sort of double dipping. So that's the part of the program that you cannot do. But you can participate in the CCA. You are still drawing energy from the grid part of the time. And so you're required to be connected to the grid, and you would still be able to participate in the CCA program for the energy, whatever energy you are drawing from the grid. I'm sorry, what was the next question?
What if someone is signed up for community solar?
Okay, if you're signed up for community solar, then you probably would just stay with the community solar provider that you already have. But again, you can still, it's not, as I mentioned, it's not a choice. You can and you should do both. You're sort of doubling down on your support for renewable energy by doing this. It's a kind of a long story. I don't know if you want the long answer to this, but that's sort of the shorter answer. Yes, you can and you should do both. The community solar is giving you the benefit of a nice little discount, but it's not taking the place of the actual supply. You're still getting your supply from ONR, which is, as I mentioned, about 87% renewable. I'm sorry, standard energy, fossil fuels. Okay, and the third one was, what if you're on an ESCO? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're on an ESCO, you're considered not eligible. It doesn't mean that you can't enroll, but what it does mean is that once that packet actually goes out to you, you will not receive the packet in the mail. So what that means is it takes a little bit more work from the municipality and from us and from Sustainable Warwick. In this case, we have this wonderful thing of having a group here that is really active to promote it to people who will not get that mailing. We're not allowed to mail to people who are on ESCOs because it's considered slamming. But we still want to be able to reach as many people as possible. So yes, we will I'll try to do the outreach to local community groups, and hopefully the municipality will agree to send emails and post to social media, etc. We'll do everything we can to reach them. I mentioned when I was doing the presentation that sometimes I've heard people paying really exorbitant rates. I mentioned that the rate in the program is 7.167 cents for renewable energy. I've spoken to people who are paying, I won't mention the name of the ESCOs, but 21, I've heard of people spending, paying 27, even 28.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So really, literally 4 times as much as they would be paying in the program for renewable energy. And obviously, and people are sometimes paying exorbitant prices even for standard energy, for fossil fuels. So, people at least should have the opportunity to know about it and switch if they want, and they can. And then at that point, if they decide that they want to, then they need to check whether they have an exit fee. If they do have an exit fee, they'll probably want to mark their calendar, let the ESCO know that they don't want to have the program roll over, and then call the helpline and they can easily, or they can do it themselves online to enroll.
Thank you, Peggy.
Sure.
Very clear.
I think you were also asking me to show a utility bill, Michael?
Yes, we discussed that before. If you've got a copy of what a utility
Sure.
bill looks like for somebody who's getting community choice aggregation, I'm sure everyone's going to be fascinated by the details.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is, I'm showing you, actually, this is probably my O&R bill. This is the new O&R bill. So I'm sure your O&R bill changed a couple of months ago,
yeah.
Right? Okay, so you can see there's the gas here and then the electricity charges, okay? And then if you go to the second page, gas is on the bottom, and on the top of the bill, on the right-hand side is the delivery portion of the bill. That's what O&R is actually being paid to do, is the delivery portion and the billing. On the left in that red box, but it's not usually a red box around it, I just put a red box around it, are the supply charges. And those are just usually the pass along, okay? Because I'm on the Rockland Community Power Program, you can see the email info@rocklandcommunitypower.com, and you can see a message from the electricity supplier, Constellation New Energy CCA for Rockland Community Power. Okay, so who the hell is Constellation New Energy CCA? We are not actually a supplier. We negotiate on behalf of the communities to get the best price for the communities, for the residents and the small businesses. In this particular case, the supplier that came in with a bid for the lowest price, and that we were happy with everything else about them, was Constellation New Energy. So it is a little bit confusing because it says your electricity supplier is Constellation New Energy. The telltale sign there is CCA. Okay. So any questions about that, about the bill? It is, unfortunately here you're seeing it really blown up, but as you know, on your actual bill, it's all in very, very tiny print, and it's incredibly confusing, but that's what it is. And if you're on an ESCO, by the way, a lot of people don't know even whether they're on an ESCO. So if you're on an ESCO, this is the place, page 2 on the left-hand side on the top, this is the place to find out whether you're on an ESCO, and also to find out what okay. So here is where my cursor is. Hopefully you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, so where my cursor is now, you see the price per kilowatt hour. And I'll just mention that there's a gross receipts tax that's collected by the village. And so that's bundled together with the actual rate. The actual rate is 7.167 cents per kilowatt hour. But because O&R insists on bundling it together with the gross receipts tax, what people see is 7.238 cents per kilowatt hour. But I am determined to change that, to get that unbundled, because it's sort of, people may think that we're overcharging, but that's what it is. So yeah.
Other questions from the floor? Go ahead, Christina. You're on mute. Please take yourself off mute. Christina, you're still on mute.
Oh.
There you go. Go ahead. What's your question, Christina?
I apologize in advance because I think I'm missing something very key here. You need to sell this idea to, in this instance, the village board, let's say.
That's great.
The village board says, terrific, great idea. Yes, we like this. I don't understand how individual households relate to that. Because the bill comes from a central resource.
Okay, yes, this program operates at the municipal level. That's the strength of the program, we're not going one by one.
Right.
And that's the way that we build this large aggregate, so that we can actually deliver cost savings to people. And by the way, I can't guarantee cost savings because, again, I can only talk about past performance because the energy, it's energy until now. Almost always, people have come out ahead in terms of cost savings, and it's also the way that operating at the municipal level is also the way that you make a real difference in terms of the environment, in terms of climate impacts. And where Sustainable Warwick comes in is also by going to your town or your village and saying, letting them know that this is a program that you think is worth looking into and worth exploring, and that you believe that you'd like to see your town or your village board move ahead with.
Well, I certainly understand you need to get the town or the village board on board with this, but what do you do about the person who says, I don't want to be part of this?
Absolutely.
You need a certain percentage of the village, I guess is what I'm asking. Does there need to be a percentage for it to work?
No, there does not need to be.
Oh.
The suppliers have built into their calculations, they've built into the rate, calculating that a certain percentage will opt out.
Right.
So it does not depend on your getting a certain percentage.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Our work is to pull together an aggregate that's large enough so that you'll get a good rate. But no, you do not. And yes, absolutely, anybody can opt out.
That's a very good idea, because I think everybody would agree in Warwick there are people who wouldn't respond well to being told what they were doing.
In fact, though, Orange and Rockland is an opt-out program. The state decided many years ago that O&R was going to be the utility and was going to do the supply. So if you move into the village of Warwick today, you're opted into O&R. This program, the state is saying, we're moving it down to the community level. We're moving it down. Now it's the municipality that can make that decision, closer to the actual consumers.
So Peggy, this is Tom McKnight here. First of all, thank you so much. I had looked into this a little bit and it was a bit confusing to me. You spoke very clearly and you covered a lot of stuff before I could even ask it. So I just thought that was great. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you at the board meeting on Monday. I'm going to ask you 2 questions then. So I'll give you kind of those questions now, right?
Okay.
One, I'd love to see what the community outreach content looks like, because I think Christina's onto something. It's very important how we phrase this. We have had a bit of a divided community at times on just every seemingly safe issue can be polarized here. So it would be great to understand how you're you plan on communicating this, right? And if we have input into that, that would be good. And 2, I'd like to understand what are the risks. And by that, I mean, if I put on my village board hat and we're looking out for the benefit of all the taxpayers here, we want to make sure, I understand no guarantee. We want to make sure that we're not doing anything that could be harmful really to anyone, right? So I would ask you what those risks are. You don't have to answer now. You're free to, but those are the 2 questions we're going to ask you on Monday.
Okay. So I can show you a slide with the trying to find where I can show you a slide that gives you a little bit of an idea about sorry. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of an idea about community outreach. We'll be doing online meetings, in-person meetings, going to meetings, like if there's a church group or, whatever, I'll go to a book discussion group, whatever it is that is in your community. If people are interested, I'm glad to go. The senior groups are a perfect example. If there's an e-newsletter, if there are print newsletters, even better. If there's social media in the community, whatever there is. I mean, I really would want to hear from you how to most effectively communicate with people. But this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. I think this is, there's 90 days of an initial education campaigns. There's a 60-day mandated period, then there's another 30-day mandated period, but we really kind of go above and beyond that. And then there's ongoing education and program support, the call center that I mentioned, and education meetings, sending out community updates. If you have an email that goes out regularly to the community, then we'll want to contribute to that e-newsletter, because really, the best way is to do it through the municipality if possible. Okay, so that's.
And to that end, if you do have examples, you could bring on what some of that content
Okay.
looks like. I mean, I think you did a really great job earlier summing up, and I certainly took some notes, right? So summing up the main points. I think to an extent, sometimes less is more. If I open something in my mail and it doesn't feel like a company selling me something, I'm more likely to read it. And I know you've done this time and time again, so I'm sure you've thought through this, but
the actual mailing, what we do is we ask the municipalities, well, I think we pretty much require that mailing comes from the municipality, because we know that as much as people complain about their municipal government, it's the most trusted entity. Much more so than any other mailing that they would get. So that it actually comes from, it says on the envelope, Village of Warwick, important energy information. Will some people discard it nonetheless? Yes, I'm sure, but still, that's the best way to get people to open it. I'm sorry, did I?
The other one was around the risks.
The risks, okay. I guess there really are minimal risks, except I guess I would say there's no guarantee on the cost. With community solar, that is a guaranteed discount. For the program, it has worked out so far well. I guess I would say almost always. I think I mentioned Rockland Community Power, over 22 months, people have saved $7 million. Joule programs in general, $9.6 million in the first.
The number that stuck out to me was the $180 on average savings.
On average savings,
right? Per year, was that per year?
No, that was so far through the program over it's either 21 or 22 months on renewable energy. So these are not life-changing savings. The point of the program really is to transition to renewable energy without costing people more. Hopefully there will be savings, pretty much always. So far there have been. Westchester Power, I'll mention, they have total savings of $11.9 billion since 2016. I double checked that number several times because I really wanted to make sure I had that right. Keep in mind that they've been operating since 2016 and there are 29 community.
Yeah, I get it, makes total sense. Just kind of more feedback, right? Just thinking numbers like millions and billions, I don't think is super relatable, but if you tell me $180 over 22 months, that's $8 per month. That's tangible. That's something I had around.
And again, I can't guarantee it, but generally that it's, and the aim of the program is really to transition to renewable energy, which really makes a major difference in your carbon footprint as a community without raising people's rates and protecting people because it's a fixed rate.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. And I don't mean to monopolize this. Someone has questions, please do. One other thing I had was, and part in the question, but how does Joule compare to other entities that are doing something similar?
Sure. So number one, you asked about outreach, and that is one of Joule's strengths. We are local. We have, first of all, a community coordinator on the ground. I live in Rockland County, but I'm local to Orange County. And Joule itself is in Westchester, so we're local. We also put a big emphasis on outreach. Any of the communities that are currently in the program, they'll tell you that. And we also are really innovators on renewable energy. The only other program administrator in this area is a company called Good Energy. As far as I know, last time I checked, and I haven't checked recently, but last time I checked, none of their communities were in New York State were on renewable energy. They were all defaulted to standard energy. So I think that tells you something about them. They'll tell you that they make it available, but it's not there. It's really our reason for being. And that's, you know, the principals in Joule are really innovators and really on the cutting edge of renewable energy programs, which is really why I was excited to work for them. They're, as I mentioned, they're the first to introduce community solar. They're the only ones currently who are authorized to do opt-out community solar with the benefits of that. There's no contract for consumers, which is a major benefit. And it's all on that one consolidated bill. And then there's also, in addition, there's the advisory services for the community itself. So I think for communities like the town of Warwick and the village of Warwick, I think you're going to want those things, the advisory services. You're going to want to do renewable energy projects for the municipality, and I think that those will be important. And I'm sure you're also getting approached by private proposals for community solar on private land. So that's another important component to get a little bit of advice on how to assess those projects.
This has been a great presentation. Why don't we let Jeff Howard ask the last question? Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, Peggy, first of all, thank you for a terrific presentation.
Okay.
I am ready to sign up. But I take it I cannot sign up.
I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. But it is the village of Warwick that needs to make a decision. And once that decision has been made, then I can sign up. Do I have the sequencing correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
And there is a meeting on October 8th.
On October 3rd.
On October 3rd, sorry, I had that written down wrong. And that will be at the village level, and you will make a presentation, and it will be helpful to have people who are raising their hand and saying, do it, do it, do it.
I would say yes.
Okay.
I mean, Tom can answer that, but I would say yes.
There is area for public comment at every village board meeting. So that would be an appropriate time to for anyone to voice their support or otherwise.
I just want to mention also that, you know, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. I'm glad to, if anybody did not still has questions, or in the middle of the night you think of a question, I'm always glad to talk to anybody. As you can see, I'm really passionate about this program. I think it's a brilliant program and can really make a major difference. So I'm always glad to answer questions.
Peggy, what's the timing end to end if we were to do something like this?
Okay, please don't get discouraged. Okay, end to end, it takes 8 months. Okay, that's what I'm told. I haven't sort of sat down and calculated it out. It sounds like forever. It sounds like, oh God, you know, if somebody had told me that at the beginning, I would have been very discouraged. But it's, you know, there's two months of mandated public outreach. It takes a month to get approval from the Department of Public Service. Each step takes time.
Thank you.
And it's worth it.
Well, once I want to say, Peggy, thank you so much for doing this presentation and for being available for further questions, and for good luck with your presentation to the village board early next month. And we will try to publicize that presentation also. Okay.
And if anybody here lives in the town of Warwick and wants to approach the town supervisor or the village of Florida or the village of Greenwood Lake, I've heard particularly Florida and the town might be amenable. So that would be really helpful. And Tom, I'd love to talk to you if you think, you know, yes, less is more. I spoke at a little bit more length because I felt that this was a group that really wanted more information, but I'm fully aware that town and village boards always have packed agendas, and, you know, they're not going to be happy if it goes on for an hour.
Yeah, happy to, this was great. Happy to talk the rest of this week. I mean, the board meeting's Monday. right?
Okay,
Happy to talk beforehand.
great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.